Okay, let's unpack this. We often think about national industrialization, big picture stuff, semiconductors, heavy industry, maybe aerospace.
Right, the really high-tech sectors.
Exactly. But what if the real starting point, the genuine foundation for economic self-sufficiency, what if it lies in something, well, much more basic, like a bar of soap or a plastic bottle?
It's a fascinating idea, isn't it? And what's really interesting here is how the sources we're looking at lay out a specific blueprint for this. It's a deep dive into strategic industrial planning, specifically for a country like Madagascar.
Yeah, focusing on how building up capabilities in core consumer goods, we're talking cleaning products and plastics here, could actually kickstart much broader industrial growth synergy, right?
Precisely. It's intended as an engine. We're looking at how this strategy aims to build self-sufficiency and create this wider industrial synergy.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We've got a stack of materials, detailed trade stats from, 2013 to 2023,
That's right, a full decade. Plus, the actual plans for a local manufacturing school project.
designed to tackle the skills gap. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we've also got analysis linking all this back to historical examples and these big African trade agreements. It's about finding those crucial first steps for development.
Okay, so the choice of cleaning products, that's HS code 34 if you're into tray data and plastics, HS 39. It's not just random.
No.
No, the sources frame it as a very deliberate first move. They call it the industrialization chain, sort of the first link.
Okay. Industrialization chain. And the logic is, these are basic things everyone needs. Cleaning supplies, plastics for packaging, essentials for health, daily life.
Exactly, basic consumer staples. And that gives them a kind of stability.
How so?
Well, think about it. Demand for soap or detergent.
Yeah.
It's pretty inelastic, right? It doesn't swing wildly with market prices or even economic downturn.
People still need to wash things, yeah. Recession or not.
Right. So that stability provides a more predictable foundation if you're going to invest in building factories and training people.
And the strategy's real hook, the sources argue, is that making these things forces other developments. It creates this synergy motor you mentioned.
Absolutely. It's like a cascade.
Yeah.
You decide, okay, we're going to make our own liquid soap. Boom. Immediately you need better chemistry.
Ah, right. R&D, ingredients.
Yeah, you're pushing research into new formulas, maybe greener chemicals, sustainable raw materials like surfactants, enzymes. You're constantly needing to innovate just to meet basic quality, safety, environmental standards.
Yeah, okay. Step one, chemistry. Then you've got the soap, but you need to put it in something.
Exactly. Which brings you straight to plastics. High-quality containers.
And that's not simple either, is it?
Not at all. It's a whole sector. You need specific materials, HDPE, high-density polyethylene, PET, and crucially, different manufacturing skills.
Different skills.
Yeah. You blow molding, that's for making the hollow bottle shape itself. Think of blowing up a balloon inside a mold. But then you also need high-precision injection molding. That's for the more complex bits, the caps, the spray triggers, the pumps, the little threaded necks, much more intricate.
And making those intricate plastic parts, those molds, that must require serious machinery.
You got it. That demand pulls in the machinery and mold sector. You can't just buy these complex molds off the shelf easily or rely on imports forever. You need domestic capability in high-precision CNC computer numerical control machining.
To build the molds, maintain them?
Exactly. And maybe even automatic filling lines, capping machines, packaging equipment down the line.
Okay, so chemistry, no plastics, mesh machinery. What else?
Well, think about all that plastic packaging you're suddenly producing. Loads of bottles, containers.
Recycling.
Directly. The sheer volume forces the development of a proper recycling infrastructure. It links the whole initial manufacturing push directly to circular economy goals right from the start.
So the proposed path is clear. Start with cleaning products, which pulls in plastics and recycling, which then drives demand for CNC machining and eventually iron processing. Kind of setting the stage for bigger things later, like maybe agricultural machinery or food processing equipment.
That's the blueprint laid out in the sources, yes.
Yeah.
A sequential, interconnected development.
Okay, that theory sounds, pretty compelling, a neat pathway. But like you said, it starts with the current reality. What does Madagascar's actual trade balance look like? How bad is the dependency?
Right, let's ground this in the numbers. First, maybe quickly define the metric we're using, the import-export coverage ratio.
Good idea.
It's simple, really. You just take the value of what a country exports, divide it by the value of what it imports, and express it as a percentage. 100% means you're balanced. Below 100% means a trade deficit.
Got it. So the big picture for Madagascar. total trade in 2023?
The overall picture, well, it shows a significant deficit. In 2023, total exports were about $3.2 billion, but imports were way higher at $4.8 billion.
So a gap of, what, $1.6 billion roughly?
Yeah, $1.582 billion to be precise. That gives an overall coverage ratio of just 67.0%. So nationally, they're only earning enough from exports to pay for about two-thirds of their imports.
Okay, that's the macro view. But the strategy focuses on these basic staples. You mentioned the risk of dependency is maybe greater than the risk of investing in low-margin goods.
Exactly. The sources argue that relying on other countries for absolute essentials is a massive vulnerability. And when you zoom in on these specific goods, cleaning products, and plastics, the numbers become quite stark. Let's call it the staples gap.
Okay, give us the micro picture for 2023. Let's start with cleaning products, HS34.
All right. Cleaning products. In 2023, Madagascar imported $37.4 million worth.
Okay, seems like a lot for a developing nation. And exports?
Exports were $13,000. $13,000.
Wait, $13,000 compared to $37 million.
Yes. So the coverage ratio, exports divided by imports, it's basically zero. It comes out as 0.03%.
0.03%. That's, wow. That's practically complete reliance.
It's near total dependence for things like soap, detergent, bleach, things people use every single day.
Okay. What about plastics? HS39. Is it any better?
Marginally, but still incredibly low. Imports in 2023 were about $143 million.
A much bigger category, dollar-wise.
Yes. Exports were higher too, but still only around $1.96 million.
So the coverage ratio there is...
Still tiny, only 1.37%.
Right. So across both these essential categories, they're importing almost everything they consume.
Precisely. And this highlights the core problem the strategy aims to fix. You've got this massive import bill draining foreign currency for basic necessities. And at the same time, you have a very young, growing population, over 31 million people, now facing high rates of youth unemployment.
So the idea is import substitution, make it locally, solves two problems at once. Reduces the trade deficit and creates jobs.
That's the fundamental argument, yes. Tackle the trade gap and youth unemployment simultaneously by building domestic capacity for these essential goods.
Okay, so if the problems are dependency on imports and a lack of skilled industrial workers, how do you fix the skills part? The sources propose this manufacturing school idea, right? The İmalat Okulu.
That's right. It's presented as a very localized, very practical solution. It's essentially an open technical knowledge transfer project.
Open transfer, meaning the knowledge isn't locked up.
Yeah, focused on teaching practical manufacturing skills and sales know-how.
Yeah.
But the really innovative part, I think, is the funding model.
Oh, how does it work?
The plan is for the school to finance its own operations through the sale of the actual products the students make during their training.
Get out. So the training itself has to produce market quality goods that people will actually buy.
Exactly. It builds market viability testing right into the education process. It forces accountability.
That's clever. So what does the training actually look like? How does it flow?
It seems quite structured. First, the students, they call them girişimciler öğrenciler. Basically, entrepreneurs, learners get theoretical training from experts. Then they have to pass manufacturing tests.
Okay, theory first, then prove you get it.
Right. If they pass, they move into a week, typically, of applied, hands-on production training. After that, they effectively work as workers manufacturing the product for sale.
And you mentioned something about recording it all.
Yes, this seems crucial. Every step of the process, mixing ingredients, operating the machinery, filling bottles, quality checks, it's all supposed to be video and text recorded.
Why?
To build up a library of local reusable training resources. They're not just making soap, they're documenting how to make soap. In their context, creating intellectual property for future training.
Okay, that makes sense. Building capacity to train future trainers, too. What kind of stuff are they learning to make? You mentioned cleaning and plastics.
It's pretty comprehensive, according to the plans. The curriculum covers 18 specific topics. 11 are in cleaning products.
Like what?
Things like general surface cleaners, bleach, shamashu is a term used, dish detergent, liquid hand soap, but also more specialized stuff like grout cleaner, derz temizleyici.
Okay, a decent range. And the plastic side. 7 topics there.
Yes, covering the fundamentals like plastics classification, really important stuff on plastics recycling, And then the key manufacturing techniques we talked about.
The molding.
Exactly. Specific training on injection molding, which they need for those complex caps and parts, and detailed training on blow molding, focusing on making containers of various sizes, 5-liter, 10-liter, even up to 20 and 30-liter drums.
So they're aiming to create not just workers, but potentially people who could start their own small manufacturing businesses.
That seems to be the goal, yes. Developing a multi-tiered workforce. Industrial entrepreneurs, skilled workers, future trainers, and even people capable of managing these sectors. And it's important to see this local school project, this focused initiative, within the bigger picture. It's not happening in isolation.
You mean within Africa?
Right. It's positioned within the context of major continental economic frameworks, particularly the African Continental Free Trade Area, the AfCFTA. Madagascar is a member.
Okay, the AfCFTA. We hear a lot about it. Remind us, the goal is basically to create one huge African market.
Pretty much. It aims to be the world's largest free trade zone by number of countries. 55 AU members involved, currently minus Eritrea. The core objectives are removing tariffs on 90% of goods and slashing those non-tariff barriers, the red tape, the differing standards.
And the expected impact.
Projections are huge. Some analyses suggest it could boost intra-African exports by over 81%. And significantly, manufacturing is expected to get the biggest lift from this integration.
Right, so if Madagascar successfully builds this domestic capacity in cleaning and plastics, suddenly they have access to a much, much bigger market than just their own island.
Potentially, yes. They could shift from being an importer to an exporter, at least regionally. And the size of that potential market, just for these specific products, is enormous.
Yeah, how big are we talking?
Well, looking at the 2023 import data again, the total import market just for cleaning products and plastics among all ACFTA countries was, get this, $30.14 billion.
30 billion, just for soap and plastic stuff.
In 1 year, yes. And if you break down regionally, it's still massive. The COMESA countries, that's the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa, they imported about $13 billion worth.
And Madagascar is part of COMESA, right?
Yes. And the SADC countries, the Southern African Development Community, they imported over $8 billion worth. These are huge, accessible markets right on their doorstep if they could become competitive producers.
Okay, the scale is definitely there. Now, this whole approach, starting with basic goods, import substitution, building skills locally to kickstart broader industry, it feels like it has echoes of older development strategies.
It does. The sources explicitly draw a parallel with historical models of planned industrialization.
Such as?
Turkey's first 5-year industrial plan from 1934 to 1938 is highlighted.
What did they do?
Well, interestingly, coming out of the Izmir Economic Congress, their plan didn't jump straight into, say, heavy steel production. It prioritized core industries like textiles, mining, and, importantly, chemistry, quite similar to the focus here.
Textiles, mining, chemistry.
But the critical element, the sources emphasize, was the focus on developing industries where the raw materials could be sourced domestically.
Ah, so it wasn't just about making the final product, but securing the input supply chain locally as well,
right,
reducing dependency all the way down.
Exactly. It was a deliberate, state-led strategy to build resilient local manufacturing that wasn't immediately vulnerable to foreign suppliers for its core ingredients or materials.
And did it work for Turkey back then?
The results were pretty dramatic, according to the historical data cited. Turkey's GDP per capita reportedly almost doubled in about 15 years, from around $47, $48 in 1923 up to nearly $90 by 1938.
Wow. Okay, so that suggests this kind of focused foundational industrial planning linked to domestic resources. It can have a powerful impact.
That's the historical lesson presented, yes. That strategic planning, starting with fundamentals and prioritizing those domestic links, can be a potent engine for growth. #outro. So if we try to tie all these threads together, what we're seeing in Madagascar plan, as laid out in these sources, is really a strategic pivot. It's about taking a vulnerability, this huge, constant demand for imported basic goods, and trying to leverage it.
Turning a problem into an opportunity.
Kind of. Using that demand to fuel a self-financing training system. The goal is to build local skills, create jobs, especially for young people, and reduce that trade deficit all at the same time.
And ultimately, position Madagascar not just as a consumer or a raw material exporter, but as a manufacturer within that giant AfCFTA marketplace.
Exactly. Integrating into the regional economy as a value-adding producer. That seems to be the long-term vision described.
It's a compelling case. But it does raise a final, maybe challenging question for you, for our listeners. Building factories, training workers, that's crucial. But successful industrialization always needs something else, doesn't it? It needs capital. It needs investment.
Absolutely. Finance is key.
So if a country like Madagascar is serious about prioritizing this kind of strategic manufacturing over, say, just funding more imports or short-term consumption,
Mhm.
how critical is the role of the financial system itself? What about the idea of industrial finance?
Directing credit specifically.
Yeah, ensuring that bank lending and investment are actively channeled towards these specific, value-adding, potentially export-oriented industrial projects, and maybe, controversially, restricting credit for activities that just fuel more consumption or foreign debt. How vital is that financial alignment piece to making a strategy like this actually